Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, delighted to have your company on the programme. Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus are here with me today. And if you want to join the football family, why not hit that subscribe button on our channel? So many people doing exactly that, and we're absolutely delighted that you could join us as well. And every day we've got lots of different content for you. Our reporters are out there covering the press conferences as well as being out at the matches for you too. So if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. There's lots to talk about. Scottish Cup results with still one game to go in the quarter-finals. Will it be Livingston or St Johnstone making it into the last four? We will look at the three games that have already been played, potentially a mouth-watering draw ahead after tonight's game. And over and above that, we will discuss Willie Collum, who has continued this air of transparency with his monthly assessment of some of the VAR decisions. You can give us your view on that as well. We'd love to hear from you. First and foremost, it was Friday night when Willie Collum came out with the monthly review, explaining some of the decisions, which I think Willie Collum should be applauded for this new attitude of trying to say, yes, there are mistakes that are made, we'll hold our hands up, here's the explanation of it, here's what they got wrong, here's how we'll try and rectify it, and also explaining some rules that some people will not be aware of, Ruffy. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, some clubs will be angry that certain decisions haven't gone their way, especially when Willie holds his hands up, but more power to him.
Yeah, I think we all want a bit of honesty. There's no doubt about that, and it's good for him to come out and tell us about the rules, because you're right, you know, we don't know the rules 100%, but you're also right in saying that it's not going to help any manager who thinks that they're on the end of it more than everybody else. So that's the downside of it. But yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think the supporters would like to hear what's happening with their decisions, possibly on the day of the game rather than waiting 3 or 4 weeks. So that might be something we might move on to. But no, it's good that they're coming out instead of hiding behind anything.
Yeah, and with that in mind, I watched the entire broadcast of it. I mean, at the end of the day, it serves a purpose. It's not the most exciting. There's no laughs if you were looking for entertainment on it, but you certainly get the controversy of it, which is quite simply Willie, you know, explaining, first of all, the one that everybody was talking about, which was Daizen Maeda's goal against Hibs in the league, Alison, which in his mind should not have been chalked off because there was no definitive angle that proved beyond any doubt that that ball had crossed the line. And that's where he said Alan Muir had made a mistake. I would counter that by saying, Alison, that some of the vitriolic accusations towards Alan Muir, you just got to discard them. It's just...
Yeah, of course. I think you're always going to get that. But I think the point here is not the argument about whether or not you think the ball was out, but rather the fact that there was ambiguity about it even when you had looked at every available angle. I also think there was a criticism to be made about the audio that was released and about the manner of almost trying to make the referee's mind up for him. That, I think, is a bigger problem, and I think that has been an issue since VAR came in. I think what you want from the VAR official is an opportunity to say, here is the evidence in front of you, but not to influence the referee's judgment or his opinion. I think it has to be the referee who referees the game, and I think if you to make a criticism at all over and above the actual call, it was just kind of steering the referee to make the decision and come to the conclusion that he did. I think you could still be arguing today whether or not you think the ball was out. I think what is utterly inarguable is the fact that there was no definitive angle that proves it one way or another. So therefore, it's not a clear and obvious error.
Yeah, I think a number of fans will listen to, and this is where I think Willie Collum has a job to do. A number of fans will have listened to the audio of Alan Muir saying, you know, this is factual, it's out, and probably get more than a little irked by it. But I think Willie Collum's job, I think, is right and proper. We disregard all accusations of bias or anything anti-Celtic. I think what Willie Collum's job should be is basically to say to Alan Muir, you know, get him out, which he undoubtedly will do, sit him in an office and say, Alan, this is why this should have been a goal. You know, there is no clear angle which shows that that ball is out. So it should not have been made as a factual decision for the referee to abide by.
Yeah, I think Alisson hit the nail on the head there. I think if there's, you can only change the initial decision if it's a clear and obvious error. And there wasn't that. I think Alan Muir, you've seen it, I think the first thing he said was, I think the ball's out, and then, the ball's out. So you've got to be sure. Listen, there's angles where the ball looks as if it's out, there's angles where the ball looks as if it isn't out. So you just go with the original decision. And you're right, he's got to take Alan Muir away and say this can't happen again.
Yeah.
The Celtic fans are gunning for it, and
I don't think that matters.
No, it doesn't matter, Peter, but it does put him under a little bit more pressure.
Why? Because some Celtic fans say it. No, what matters for me, Tam, and what I think everybody who looks at a job, of anybody doing a job of work is, if you can then go and educate them and say this is why this should not have been called as a factual decision. If he gets it consistently wrong, then there is the penalty. The ultimate penalty is you take him out of the position. And whether that's a training programme for him before he even is allowed back into that situation, but I don't know to what extent Willie Collum views him as, at a point where he needs to be taken out or not. But I wouldn't be looking at it from a pressure point of view. I'd be looking at it and saying, well, let's assess you. If you're making these mistakes continually on the VAR, take him out. That's what happens with all of us. In life, if you don't do the job, if you didn't score the goals, you're off.
not a great comparison, Peter. No, listen, I agree with you, but I'm just saying in terms of big decisions, in Celtic game, if he's covering the Celtic game again, he's going to be under pressure. The Celtic fans are going to be looking at him, closely, and make sure he gets decisions right. And that, whether you think that's right or wrong, that's just going to be the fact of the matter. So,
to be fair, Alan Muir was also VAR for the League Cup final, for the penalty that wasn't given for the Liam Scales tug and the shirt that was on the penalty. So I think for any fans crying out and pointing fingers that way, I think you can say, well, there was a fairly big call missed at Hampden. I think it maybe more comes down to making mistakes rather than it does to any kind of bias. I think we can knock that on the head.
But I think Alison and I discussed in the journos last week, Ruffy, and Alison highlighted the point again here. The referee has to referee the game. Just show them and say, this is what we think. You make the call. We're only advising you of the definitive angle we've got on it, but you make the call. You're the referee. In such big decisions, in such key games, you make the call. You're the referee. We're only here. VAR is brought in to reduce, in fact, to increase the percentage of getting decisions right. You're not going to get them all right because human error always comes into it, even with VAR. You won't get them right if you haven't got enough technology that gives you all the angles.
That's what I was going to say there. You've been up in that VAR room. You saw how. Why can't they get a definitive?
Well, with all due respect, Ruffy, it costs a lot of money. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. If
the clubs aren't paying for it. The clubs are paying, I think.
Of course you are, but you get managers coming out and saying, well, we're paying for it, but we're not getting things right.
You're also paying for a particular package. You're paying for it. You'll be different and more expensive packages would give you more cameras at games and more angles. The package that you've got, that's the angles that you had. That's just where you are.
I think we saw it in Motherwell once, wasn't it? They said the angle was at.
It was a Jota situation.
Something like that,
yeah.
So.
I mean, listen, these things come with money, and I know a lot of people have their opinion on the actual audio, the way they were hearing it. They're upset about that. Some people have got their own take on the decision overall, but I think from a Celtic point of view, they'll probably be, angry overall that that's the way it was decided. But I thought fair play to Willie Collum. He will take Alan Muir away and say to him, listen, when you move forward again, this is how you make that call.
Yeah, it can't happen again.
Can't happen again. See, to be honest with you, Tam, I mean, I'm not talking about Alan Muir specifically. I'm talking about all the referees. All the referees must have been told at the start of the season, unless you have a clear and distinct angle which proves unequivocally.
It's like there is no decision.
Well, yeah. Why are you getting involved? Why are you influencing or steering the referee, or in this case, refereeing it by doing that? I mean, they must have been told. That's the only thing. And I think Willie, to his credit, held his hands up and said he got that one wrong. And by the way, not just about the Celtic Hibs game. Dalby's goal. Dalby's goal was a very similar situation. Sam Dalby scores a goal, and it's almost as if they were looking to try and convince themselves that just because the ball, goes down in a different direction, that he's definitely handled it. And I thought that Willie said they got it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, that's up to the people who are looking at it to make the correct decision. I actually thought it was the reason it was chopped off because he pushed the defenders back. But
No, the frame by frame was to see where the arm was.
No, but how can you see, if we've all seen it hundreds of times and it can't be? How can VAR not see it?
Yeah. Well, I think they jumped to conclusion on it rather than saying there's no definitive here. See, the minute they say I'm not 100%, that should stop it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has to be. I think the first thing is it has to be a clear and obvious error. If you're poring over various different angles and you're still not coming
6
to a
minutes it
natural
took as well.
conclusion,
Yeah.
it's clearly not
It's too
particularly
long, Ali,
obvious.
now,
It's
isn't it?
way too long, but it's also not an obvious error. So I think that's first of all, that's your big issue with it. The second thing is definitely I think there is an issue with VAR officials steering the referee a certain way. I think it has to be an independent conclusion made by the referee who's on the pitch.
Killian Phillips, I was at the game, Hearts St Mirren. I genuinely thought he should have had a red card. Whether it was a shoulder contact to the face or to one part of the body, he wasn't looking at the ball, and I was amazed when he got away with it.
Yep, that was a red card. I think everybody's seen that, and obviously you're going to speak about the Alistair Johnson won the penalty, which looked a clear penalty for me as well.
Yeah.
He kind of wins the ball, but then gets through and takes him out. So, it's okay coming out and saying, "Listen, we've got these decisions wrong," but you can't just keep saying that every month. You've got to. There's got to be
St Mirren. Well, who you think? How costly might that be?
One or two, maybe, but not. There's four.
I think that's six. I think that might be 5 or 6 for St Mirren over the course of the season.
I think he's got a legitimate case, Ali. But can I ask you this? Are we losing sight of the fact that Willie is highlighting four really? He highlighted another couple. With obviously Egerman's red then reversed to a yellow. Are we losing sight of the initial fact which the SFA are keen to highlight is, and I think we had various meetings where the press were invited along as well and pundits, and they basically showed us this is brought in to increase the percentage of getting things right. Are we now losing sight of that? Are we becoming too critical even on the minutiae of 3 or 4?
I think you are losing sight a wee bit of what VAR was brought in to do, and I think you wanted to keep the game flowing. You wanted to correct obvious mistakes, but also to keep the game flowing. And I think what you're looking at just now is games sometimes veering towards 100 minutes. If you're at a game on a Saturday, there's a fair chance by the time you've got added time on at the end of each period, you can easily be thinking about 100 minutes. I think it still takes far too long to come to a decision at certain points. And I do think that there's a temptation to pore over every call. It doesn't have to be. I think it just has to be there to correct an obvious mistake.
Yeah, and I think that angle that offers you the definitive, Ruffy, should be reached quicker. If you can't call it in 60 seconds from 2 or 3 angles, I'm sorry. If you want to let the referee review it, by all means, but not 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Some of the stadiums I've been in, it's just too long. It's ruining the game.
Well, you would like to think at the end of the season, Willie's been very good there coming out and doing this. You would think at the end of the season that they would have a meeting all together and getting these points put across to them. So next year, obviously, you would hope it gets better year on year. But I think it's all about the dialogue between the VAR and the referees and Willie Collum, because they obviously don't want to be on the end of this. They don't want to be people saying, oh, well, there's a bit of conspiracy there with him. They don't want their referees under that kind of criticism.
Yeah. Celtic 2, Hibs 0. In the end, Celtic Maeda, what a season, Tam. 27 goals?
Yeah, I think it's a comfortable win for Celtic in the end. I think that Hibs needed Celtic to very lofty like they did at Easter Road a couple of weeks ago. They didn't. You could tell from the first 5 minutes Celtic were up for it. Brendan had the team wound up. Obviously that was still, annoying them, losing that game at Easter Road. And but for some poor finishing, good goalkeeping, could have been 3 or 4 at half time. Hibs, I think the game plan for Hibs was stay in the game, 70, 75 minutes, open up, maybe stick some of your forwards on. They'd done that, 1-0, they were still in it. They brought guys like Eli Yuhan on, Gale, to try and go and get the goal. And it was kind of open the last 15, 20 minutes. Could have went either way. Hibs didn't really create anything, which was frustrating. And Celtic get the goal to kill it at the end. But I think all in all, the best team won, Peter. I think Celtic dominated the game. And to beat a Celtic team, of that quality at Parkhead, you need them to be poor on the day. And Celtic played really well. I thought the first half, first hour. And then it kind of a wee bit of lull in the second half. But yeah, I think that Celtic thoroughly deserved it and Hibs will go away. They gave everything, the players gave everything, great support through as well. I think they'll have a couple of regrets maybe just in the final third, Peter. They didn't really have that belief to go and get the goal. And you need that belief at Parkhead. And you go there as a player, you need to go and believe that you can score and you can win. And I don't think Hibs had it.
Yeah, you obviously need to have the belief and the confidence to actually go and play the passing. I thought some of their passing was poor, Ruffy.
No, Tom's right. When you go there against Celtic, you need 3 or 4 players to be off for them. Unfortunately, the weekend there was none of them. I thought every man in the Celtic team was absolutely fantastic. I don't think they had one player who went under an 8 or a 9.
Maybe. I thought
some of the balls he put through were just a joy to watch. I know the level that you're thinking about, but I thought some of his passing, his range of passing was fantastic, and I think I have to apologise to the Hibs goalie.
Right on Friday.
That's what happens with goalies when you have a go at them.
Yeah.
They turn up and they show they show some of the saves they had were magnificent.
Well, the funny thing is, people do watch the programme and I read the messages out, and Jordan Smith had posted, tell Ruffy to go and take a flying, and that was enough for me. He did make some really good saves. One thing that was really great, Ali, oh my God, 7,000 Hibs fans. Fantastic. That's what the football's about, isn't it?
It also makes for a really different atmosphere inside of the stadium. I think it generates a more colourful spectacle, a more noisy affair. I think both sets of supporters feed off the energy of one another. I think it's a far better occasion having a good away support. And I don't know how many teams would take 7,000 supporters to Celtic Park. I think you would have to congratulate Hibs for the amount of fans that went through and went to the game yesterday afternoon. Aberdeen. I think Rangers would take 7.
Yeah.
But I think it makes for a different kind of game.
Yeah.
I think the point that Ali's making, when you see the opposition goal scorer, he immediately runs to his fans, and you can see the celebrations in the terrace, and it's absolutely fantastic to see the response you get from your support being there, and you can go to your support and celebrate with them, and if it's in large numbers, it makes it even better.
Can you imagine Hibs scoring at the weekend?
Yeah, I think they just wanted a moment in the game, Hibs, and in terms of getting that goal in front of that massive support. They didn't get it. I think the only opportunity they really had was the quick throw-in, which would have been controversial if that would have counted. I think it would have counted. I think the ball went out about 30 yards from where he took the throw-in from. And Bowie, Schmeichel did a good save. But bar that, Hibs didn't really create anything, which they had some moments in the second half. If the final ball was better, they could have created something and just had that one chance to maybe get the game to extra time or whatever, but they just didn't have it. Listen, I think that Hibs will go on and hopefully finish third this season, but I think that the biggest disappointment was the two Caddens. I think Nicky's picked up a bad injury and Chris was hobbling about at the end as well, so hopefully they're getting some TLC after more than night.
That throw-in rule that's changed has hindered Celtic a wee bit with the quick play. The wee ball boys aren't allowed to throw the ball in now. The ball's got to be put on the cone.
Yeah. So I didn't see many of the ball boys taking the throw-ins quickly.
No, I'm saying they used to throw in with Celtic playing and attacking. They used to come on the park very, very quickly, but I don't know who changed that though.
Well, they changed that rule because what happened is you started to get ball boys just throwing the ball out the road. That's what was happening. I mean, ball boys were just. I mean, players were looking at them and thinking. I mean, here's a classic one. The ball boy would go like that, you know, and and now they've changed it so that there's multiple balls on and the players can get on with it. But you know, I just thought it's amazing how you look at a game. I just thought it was a poor game. I thought Celtic just always looked in control, but it wasn't a great game. I never, you know. When
you need Hibs to score first.
Well, not only that, I didn't think that Hibs looked as if they were capable of scoring.
I didn't think they looked as though they believed.
They didn't believe.
I thought there was a lack of conviction
Passing.
about the performance. I felt they were quite insipid. When you look back to the game a few weeks back at Easter Road, I thought there was a different vibe to Hibs' performance. There was a much more conviction about them. I thought it was quite conspicuous by its absence yesterday.
They must have changed some kind of formation, because at Easter Road, the Celtic players had nowhere to go. There was a Hibs player on them right away. The game at Parkhead, there was acres of room. Tati was miles away from Hibs. Yeah. McGregor was miles away from anybody. They just couldn't get near them at all.
I think a couple of key factors with that is, one, Celtic had been rested all week, hadn't had a midweek game. They come back from Munich, they just looked leggy, and it just, if you're a yard off it, it lets you get closer to people. And I think that was the case at Easter Road. Plus, you know, obviously you're playing away from home and you're playing at Parkhead.
Yeah, I like Chris Fraser's attitude to football and life in general, Tam, because he's clearly on you right away. He says, that's right, Tam, let's laugh at someone cheating 30 yards. Yes, Tam, you have a long, hard look at yourself. Football's serious.
Oh, I love that now and then, just for Chris. Spewing. Listen, as a player, you see a ball and you just take a throw, and it's up to the referee to pull it back or whatever. And usually they do. They do pull it back, but it didn't. And you know, Celtic were fortunate that Hibs never got the goal there.
Yeah, I can't see anybody stopping them, by the way. I just think even when I'm not saying they were off it, I thought they were absolutely on it. They controlled the match. Maeda's just a sensation for me. But they didn't lay a glove on them. Tam said they needed to score first, Ruffy, but I can't see anybody stopping them. They're just, you know, the ultimate for me of the whole season, when I look back as we fast approach Celtic being crowned champions and winning the Scottish Cup, for me is, you know, he's got them at times where they can go through the gears. And I think if Hibs had scored, they'd have gone through the gears again. They just look as if they've got another level.
Particularly at Parkhead, they put the fear of death into people, because if we get two wide guys and a speedy merchant in the middle, if you go there and try and play five in the middle, you know, they two wide guys don't get forward at all, because they're worrying about the two speedy merchants on the outside. So it's going to go to a neutral venue now, which is going to make it even harder, because Hampden is a big surface and it's a big area to sort of shut people down. So I think anybody goes there, again, as we spoke about, they'd have to hope Celtic had some kind of off day or a penalty or somebody getting sent off, because it's proved for the whole season, if they're not away from home, they're winning games quite comfortably.
Yeah, and of course, with that win, all roads now back to Celtic Park for the league game against Rangers coming up. Of course, Rangers will be off the back of a really tough game against Fenerbahce, the return leg, which they lead 3-1 for the match in midweek against Fenerbahce after that brilliant performance over in Istanbul. But for Brendan Rodgers, this is what he had to say after that comfortable win against Hibernian. Listen, we were well beaten on the day. Rangers stole our game that day. That's normally how we play and how we do, but they took it from us and deserved the win that day. We will be ready for the demands of that game next week, like we were in the first game. On that day, maybe because we were 14 points clear, it maybe softened us up a wee bit. I mean, I love it. I don't know about you, I love it. I love it when a manager just twists it and starts noising it up, doesn't you know? And that's really, Brendan's just went like that, took the pin out and threw it in there, hasn't he?
Absolutely, and I think Celtic can afford to look at it that way. They've got a huge advantage at the top of the table. It's they're counting the games off now to when they declare themselves champions. I think they'll look at this as a game where they can go and enjoy it. I think they'll probably be sore at the defeat from January and the manner of it. It was a very poor Celtic performance. Rangers were excellent that day, and he's right. I think Rangers kind of took the game to Celtic the way that Celtic are used to doing on other occasions, but I think they'll fancy themselves in their own backyard. Their tails are up, playing with confidence, and on their way very firmly to a league title.
Could be 19 points, Tam.
Yeah, it's been possession, Peter, from very early in the season. That was probably the highlight for Rangers, beating Celtic at Ibrox and closing the gap, and people thinking, well, maybe we've got a title race, but at the end of the day, Celtic were going to win the league by 15-20 points. And it's up to Rangers to close the gap. It's not up to Celtic to come back to them. I don't think they are. I think Celtic are going to push on, spend again in the summer and try and improve again in Europe, which will take a lot of doing, improving the Champions League. But it's up to Rangers. Investment possibly coming in. It's up to them to go and buy and progress and get better and get closer to Celtic, because at the minute Celtic are miles ahead. They've got their odds-on favourites to win another treble, win the league by 15-20 points. It's complete domination for Celtic domestically at the minute.
Yeah, and of course, in a defeat, the manager has to be honest. David Gray had this to say in the game against Celtic. The Celtic came out of the blocks as we thought they would. They dominated the ball in areas where we thought they would do that. Anytime we had opportunities to hurt Celtic, our quality wasn't there. We turned the ball over too quickly and it became a lot of defending. That one chance we had in the first half was a big moment, but we didn't have enough of them to say we deserved to get anything. And David Gray went on to say that suddenly now for them, after a fantastic run, Alison, of 15 games, it's all about finishing third, which would be unbelievable.
I think they're capable of it. I think they're, up until yesterday, I think you would say they're the team with a bit of momentum. I still think Aberdeen looked quite unconvincing. I know obviously they had a very comfortable cup win at the weekend, but I think in terms of the league, I think it's been fairly stuttering at points, even when they've recovered from that terrible run that they were on. I think I would fancy Hibs quite strongly for third.
Tam?
I want to stick with Aberdeen, but I'd be delighted to be wrong and Hibs getting third. I tipped Aberdeen early in the season to finish third, and Kevin Nisbet's back fit and firing. He could be the difference for them. Some of their players seem to be settling in a wee bit comfortable win at the weekend, so I definitely think it's out of the two of them. I don't see Dundee United finishing third. I think it's out of Aberdeen and Hibs. And
you've just got to stick with what
I'm going to stick with Aberdeen, but I'd love to be wrong. I'd love Hibs to go and finish third, but listen, after 7-8 games, if you'd have said Hibs would finish third, you'd have been in Carstairs. So
yeah.
Let's be honest. So I'm going to stick with Aberdeen.
Must be a new holiday resort we haven't heard of. As far as you, it's great to have you on the programme now, realising, I think you've just lifted the baton, Tam, and taken it on. You've decided to be forthright in your opinion. You've been resolute. You're going to stick by it for as long as possible. Now that Ruffy is deciding to take regular holidays in the season, I think you've sensed that there's an opportunity.
There's an opportunity there.
There's an opportunity, isn't there?
For me to come right into the fold. You get a double act between me and you and just ease him out.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget Ali's here.
Sorry.
Ruffy, you don't.
Holiday tomorrow, Ruffy.
Ruffy, holiday tomorrow. Fantastic. I mean,
yeah.
Lanzarote.
Well, this is only my first one this year.
Yeah.
I've scaled my other two in the close season.
Did you? Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think we all need a break, don't we?
Yes.
I say this to you every year.
And Lanzarote with the glow sticks and the whistle.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It depends.
Taking the golf clubs?
Yeah.
Taking the golf
No
clubs?
chance.
No. Something that Ali wasn't privy to. I asked Ali today when she joined the company. And it was a long time ago, Ali, when I spotted, the tremendous talent that she had. Great writer, brilliant broadcaster now. Crap to start with, but really good now. No, but Ali wasn't privy to your classic line, which I feel was the turning point in your popularity on the show, was when I said to you, what are you doing tonight? And you said, well, I'm taking the kids out with the horses. And you could see the working class people just going, Ruffy's not for us,
How many acres you got up there in Cumbernauld? It's like a ranch.
Honestly.
17, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't cut the grass.
No, too right. He's never. No, exactly. Yeah. So listen, great for them. You're right about Nicky Cadden. I think it's good to point that out. So Celtic march on. Can anybody stop them? Give us your thoughts on that. It would be great to get your thoughts on the way Celtic are playing. Can anybody stop Maeda picking up Player of the Year? I think it was well just starting off the PFA Player of the Year and say, here, there's the award. There's no point in debating it unless you go. Is anybody going to come up with
No.
somebody else that can take it off him?
No.
I thought Kuhn for a bit might have, in the first few months of the season, I thought Kuhn was a strong contender, but I think Maeda has eclipsed him. I think he's been excellent for Celtic this season.
And Kevin Ferrier says Peter Hibs for second, never mind third. As I look at that table, it's well beyond them, I think. Is that fair, Tam?
Yeah, I think it's
discounting them.
Hibs and Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Point between them, so it's going to be a good race between them both to get in third.
Talking about Aberdeen, they've got their eyes firmly set on silverware. Could Jimmy Tilleen deliver the Scottish Cup? We'll discuss the Dons and we'll also look at Hearts and their win over Dundee as well. And we'll ask the question about managers under pressure as we get to the critical end of the season, all after the news.
Hello and welcome to your Scottish Daily News headlines on Monday the 10th of March, sponsored by Arnold Clark Rewards. Buy a car, download the app and get rewarded. Motherwell have reportedly set a fee for just under £10 million for their young starlet Lennon Miller. He's attracted interest, of course, from Celtic and Rangers and other clubs around Europe. And also, there has been apparent interest from Crystal Palace to bring Cameron Carter-Vickers back to the Premier League. It's a massive game on Thursday night at Ibrox as Rangers take on Fenerbahce in the return leg of their Europa League tie. They carry a 3-1 advantage into the game, and captain James Tavernier is hoping that the team can use the home crowd to their benefit.
Yeah, it's down to us to put in the performance in tonight to get the fans right behind us, and we know how loud Ibrox can be, and we've got to use that as an advantage.
And finally, it was Scottish Cup action this weekend with Hearts, Aberdeen and Celtic all booking their place in the semi-final, with the final spot up for grabs tonight as Livingston host St Johnstone. And speaking to the media earlier on in the week, head coach David Martindale spoke about how much he would like to share an experience at Hampden with the Livingston fans.
But to do it with fans, I think that was the biggest disappointing from my time, the last time in the League Cup. You don't really, sometimes I'll be critical of fans moaning, fans are critical of me, but it's not until you've not got them you realise that's what the game's all about.
Those were your Scottish Daily News headlines on Monday the 10th of March, sponsored by Arnold Clark Rewards. Buy a car, download the app and get rewarded.
Thanks to Cara Henderson for those headlines. Scottish Cup, of course, Livingston against St Johnstone for that final place to get to Hampden in the semi-final. Do you like the semi-finals being at Hampden, the National Stadium? What do you think? Yeah?
Yeah. Well,
you a fan of that?
Yeah, it's the road to Hampden. I think most players of the smaller teams would wish in their career that they played at Hampden at least once. So I think that's why the sort of Livingston, St Johnstone players who haven't been there would want to get the semi-final. I think it's a good atmosphere if the stadium's absolutely full. And yeah, I think just driving up in the bus to Hampden, if it's something you've never done before, it's something you'll always remember.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about Rangers Fenerbahce shortly, but Aberdeen, there was obviously the talk to build it up and give us a little sense of occasion at Pittodrie that Queen's Park might be able to take the scalp of the Dons, but boy, they came out of the traps flying, Ali.
No, I think I think there was a danger of that happening. I think there was absolutely no chance that Aberdeen were going to underestimate Queen's Park given what happened at Ibrox. I think it was just a very composed, very comfortable, very professional performance. I think if Queen's Park were to get anything, they had to score the first goal. They had to go and try and nick something on the break and then just sit in and frustrate Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen just showed, superior quality, better resources. I think just very comfortable.
Yeah, took the goals well, Tam.
Yeah, he did. Daba looks a decent player. A couple of goals. Him and Nisbet combined well. In the front two.
Are you picking Nisbet for Scotland?
Yeah, I put him in, Peter. I think that he's looks back to his best. I think he looks fit and sharp, and he's scoring goals. I think that was the issue when he first came in. He wasn't ready. He wasn't match fit. He is now. His confidence is up. I think he's got 5 in his last 6 games. So there seems to be a bit of dearth of strikers. Down south, Lyndon Dykes, I think, is kind of out the team at Birmingham. And Lawrence Shanklin's not been having a great season for Hearts, so I think you get somebody that's informed, Peter, and you bring him in, somebody that's confident that something drops to him and you can maybe take a chance.
And Steve Clark's looking at David Hirschboy who's only actually scored 3 in 19 for I think he's at Sheffield. But they're desperately looking for somebody.
I think Steve Clarke will be scouring Europe for a striker Sunday that's scoring goals and in form. But I think with Kevin Nisbet, I think he'll get called up. I think Steve knows him well. He's fit and he's firing, and he took a great finish at the weekend. You know, to get them off the mark and off and running. So, yeah, I think he'll be in the squad, Kevin.
Did you see the flick, Ruffy? Sublime.
Yeah, it was a great flick.
Keeper at fault?
No, I don't think the keeper would have expected it. You know, it came too quick to him to react to it. I think the defender that's marking him could have done a wee bit better, but no, I think you can't take anything away from Nisbet. It was a fantastic goal.
Yeah, classic line there from a goalkeeper. It was the defender's fault, just in case you missed that. There's defenders up and down the country just throwing their boots and their gloves at the telly now. Is a classic line from Ruffy, almost Schmeichel-esque in his line, wasn't it? Peter used to say the defenders were to blame as he let in a goal, but it was a great flick, Ali.
Yeah.
Would you pick him for Scotland?
I think on the basis of the fact there's just so few options. I think when you look at what else is there for Scotland, I think in an ideal world you would maybe want him to get a few more games under his belt. I think you're only slowly seeing him coming back to full fitness. But what I think that goal epitomises is a player just playing with a wee bit of confidence again.
Yeah, Les Watts says, keep Nisbet away from the national team, he's not ready. Les is a barrel of laughs, isn't he? Hello, Kevin, you're not ready. It's Les here.
To be fair, I understand his point and where he's coming from, but I think the fact is Scotland are crying out for anyone that can score, for a natural goal scorer. I think you've got to try and do something different for this double header. So if you've got a player there who's scoring goals, it's very difficult to overlook him.
Yeah, this is what both managers made at the end of that 4-1 win for the Dons.
Thought they caused us problems in the wide areas. And again, we weren't, especially that middle period, didn't think we were able to cope with it. That's just levels.
Now we have to focus on the league first, but it's nice to have it in the future, to look forward to it. And it's going to be a big game, let's see, against who. But it's nice to have that as something in the future. But now all the focus has to be on the next league game because it's so tight in the table.
Yeah, that's what he's interested in. It's just the strangest season ever for Aberdeen, isn't it?
I think Aberdeen, we saw what they did at the beginning. I think they were like a lot of the other teams in the league. They lost important players at the wrong time. You know, the big striker was out.
Yeah,
lost the goalkeeper.
Papagay.
They brought in a couple of new signings, which took a wee while to sell. I think now they are back to their best team, you know, and I think that we'll see that in the games that are coming up. That's why I'm a wee bit worried now that they might be strong enough to keep Hibs away from that third spot.
Yeah. You think they'll do it?
I think now that they're all back firing on all cylinders.
Nicky Cadden would be a massive blow for him.
Yeah.
And I think his brother's struggling as well. So
Should he have been in the Scotland squad?
If he was probably right-sided, I think he'd have a better chance, Peter. But on the left-sided, you've got Kieran Tierney coming for Arsenal, you've got Robertson. Yeah. In that wing-back area, left wing-back, we are really strong.
You know, coming on for a substitute appearance, I'll tell you right now.
I don't know, Peter.
I don't think there's a better crosser of a ball in Scotland right now.
His delivery is superb, Peter. Dead balls as well. So I think he's knocking on the door, but maybe it's just a wee bit early for him.
I agree. I think I would agree with that.
Yeah. Well, thank God you two aren't selectors. Remember, Ruffy, you wouldn't have got a cap in the day when if these two were on that. Remember, they used to select people by committee for the SFA.
That's true. Yeah, that's a wee while ago.
Yeah.
And most of them weren't sober.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruffy's views are not necessarily that of PLZ soccer. Yeah. But listen, give us your thoughts on it. Was Nicky Cadden close, or is that just maybe some Hibs fans pushing him forward too much? Or what about Kevin Nisbet? Is he ready? Les has written him off completely. What about you? Do you think we just need to start looking at anybody who shows that they've got a scent of goal and the ability to maybe put one away for us? If we get one striker who suddenly hits a purple patch, I mean, Shea Adams, to his credit, is scoring goals in Serie A.
You just don't have it. You just look at the top countries, they've all got one. We just don't have one. We don't even look as if there's anyone coming through. It doesn't look as if we're... I mean, and every time we come up against a really, really good side and it's a really tight game, the top striker wins you the game, and we just don't have one of them.
Yeah. What about Ewan Montgomery? Hugh Burns says Penrice should be in the squad. Penrice is better than Cadden. I'm not sure. I think Penrice is a good player.
It's a good season as
He's
well.
had a good season. He's a good young boy.
Yeah,
James Wilson's been great if you were looking for young players that really caught the eye, but I think Cadden's crossing has been by far way above anybody else's.
Penrice has had a great season.
Yeah.
And if he gets an international cap, it's a 20%.
For you?
What, increase?
Into Thistle.
Is that right?
International game.
It's all about the money for you and that Thistle
About
mob,
the
isn't
club,
it?
yeah.
You must have given me 3% of that or something,
Yeah.
but you've done something.
Exactly. I sense.
Always gets a cut.
By the way,
Spittle, I'd throw Spittle in and all. He's 20%.
I'd bet you, Bob Doll, I sense Yo-Yo Head is coming back on the board, eh? Remember that time when he was in the Hokey Cokey? One minute he was on the
You
board.
back in there? You get a pinny unit back at Partick Thistle? Remember you get binned for the wee pins?
No, the pin's there.
Have you got Alan Rough pin, is there?
Record sell.
Alan Ruff?
Yes,
Yeah.
record sell. I know it's did a wee bad thing, but might be back.
Wait a minute. I know I did a wee bad thing. I was humorous when the board couldn't take a joke. Yes. We've all been there, Ruffy. Haven't we, Ali? And great that the pin's selling well. If only the Ruffy T-shirts here on our shop were selling well. We're practically giving them away at the moment for the people who are still alive, who remember him playing. And he was a brilliant goalkeeper, I have to add. But nevertheless, there's undoubtedly somebody in here who'll say...
No, he's not.
No, he's not. Exactly. By the way, what Hugh says, Hugh Burns says, Lennon Miller must come into the squad.
Just bringing people into the squad for what? Bring
Experience.
somebody in that's
Experience.
no, we want somebody to make
That's
a
our
difference
strongest. That's our strongest
right now.
area. It's tough to get into the midfield.
I think he'd be far better served playing still for the Scotland under-21s and then coming in.
Yeah.
Rather than going and sitting and not getting any game time. I think he's far better playing.
Okay. From Aberdeen getting through, Hearts 3-1 against Dundee. This is what Neil Critchley and Tony Docherty made of the eventual outcome.
Look, we're in the semi-finals, weeks away yet, isn't it? It's, we've got loads of games to go yet, so who knows what form we're going to be in or the form of the opponent. I think it's mid-April, isn't it? So we're in early March. We've got an international break yet. Our focus is straight on to Ross County next week.
With the bravery of performance, and again, they only need to look at their captain. The bravery. He gets a goal, he gets his back in the game. He's hanging in there. And if we show, not the physical side, I mean the mentality. If we show that bravery, that mentality, get into the last 9 games, then we'll win more games than we lose, and we'll be in a position that, we're fine for the rest of the season. But I can't take him away from. At the moment, I'm hugely hurting from not getting into that last 4 of the Scottish Cup, because I feel we got ourselves in a position where I should be sitting here and really applauding the players and saying the bravery got us to that stage.
Well, he's delighted Shaughnessy's back in the mix, but I spoke to your mate Stuart Taylor. He's confident that when he can get players back, then there's a right good chance that they can escape the playoff. I'm not so sure as I look at he said it's 9 cup finals, but there's a Dundee derby at Tannadice. There's Rangers, St Mirren and Hibs to come before they have to play the bottom 6 games.
Yeah, they've got a tough run of games, Peter. There's no doubt about that. Just looking at that on paper. Obviously, starting at the weekend, Tannadice, Dundee derby is a hard game, but I think he's got credit in the bank, Tony Docherty. I think when you see the season they had last season, finishing the top 6 was an incredible achievement for Dundee. I've said it all season. I always thought it'd be harder this year. Because teams had not sussed them, but they were a surprise package when they've come up. They weren't this season, and they lost a couple of key players to injury, including Shaughnessy, who's just coming back. So, yeah, I think he should be definitely seeing the season out, in terms of Dundee and his job, and hopefully he can keep Dundee out the bottom 2 and then build again next season. But they've got some tough games coming up, and they've got to tighten up at the back, definitely. I said that, lost another 3 goals at the weekend. They've really got to tighten up at the back, because they seem to be scoring most games, but defensively they have been poor all season, and unless they sort that out at the back, then they're going to be in the bottom 2. So we have to wait and see.
Somebody posed a question earlier on our YouTube feed, Ali. Is Tony Docherty and Derek McInnes under pressure?
I think any manager who finds himself at the bottom end of the table will feel pressure, particularly at this point in the season where it starts to become really intense and it's fairly tight down there. I think both will be feeling it. I think both will know that they need a sequence of results just to build a wee bit of momentum and take them out of it. I actually thought, I was at Tynecastle on Friday night, I thought there was a spell in the second half. I thought when Dundee equalised, they looked as though they were the team that might have went on and won it, and then of course Hearts, just 2 goals within 5 minutes to kill the tie. But I think Tony Docherty was right in what he said. If they harness that energy and that bravery of performance, then they should be fine across the remaining 9 league games. He called it 9 cup finals. I don't think there's any doubt about the magnitude of how important those games are for anyone who finds themselves in the precarious position at the bottom end.
I think it's one of the toughest leagues to call at the moment. I know you two have gone for Aberdeen to finish third. Did you go Aberdeen?
Hibs.
I'm going Hibs as well. Ali and I are in the Hibs camp here. Is there a song we can think of, a famous pop song that encapsulates Aberdeen? Because we're Sunshine and Leith. What about yourself, Ruffy? Can you think of?
Northern Lights.
I'm happy with that.
Northern Lights are shining.
No.
Northern Lights of Old Aberdeen.
Northern Lights are shining. What's that? Is that a remix?
The version.
The Northern Lights of Old Aberdeen.
Aye, that.
that.
That song you know really well.
Yeah, exactly. So the bottom end, Ruffy, have you? I've picked St Johnstone and Ross County. I'm going to stick with it, and I think I'm going to be wrong on one of them.
I think St Johnstone will go. You're right, Ross County are fighting for everything. Dundee and Kilmarnock are the other two that you've got to bring into the equation. I'm listening to Tony Docherty, and he's been doing the interviews for the past month now. He's trying to keep everybody together. He's trying to talk up the team, but they keep getting beat.
Yeah.
So he really drastically needs somebody in the team to win a game for him to get them back on track.
What did you do, Ruffy, when Glenafton, when you were going through that really bad patch and you were losing games?
Never.
Did you clap your hands harder?
Just with a big brown envelope and sent
Never
players.
in the 5 years.
Checkbook manager.
Winning trophies.
Checkbook manager.
Did you win the league?
Yes, we
It was
won
like
the league.
Pep. It was like Pep of the juniors.
We won the Junior Cup in '96.
No, not the Junior Cup. Did you win the league as a manager?
With Glenafton.
Yeah.
We won 5 trophies that year. We won everything.
You paying the most money.
Sweet.
Pep.
Clean
Pep
sweep.
rough.
Yeah.
5 years with a great team.
Many envelopes were getting handed out.
Well, Tom Hunter was bankrolling him. It wasn't difficult.
Expenses.
Brilliant,
Absolutely bought the
Ruffy.
league.
Brilliant. By the way, I've got to read this out because it came up and I thought, I've got to say this. Andy Craig says, Ruffy was great as a goalkeeper, but I still put a couple of penalties past him at a Meadowbank fair. I mean, honestly, Ruffy, how did you miss them?
Letting wee kids not scoring at you.
Andy.
You ask him if I dived the right way. Just
No, exactly. I don't think he's good. He's just happy that he scored. And quite a few people are obviously helping you out with the Northern Lights of Old Aberdeen, thanks to so many people who have jumped in the bandwagon on that. Okay, the draw for the semi-finals will be made after the game, which is great. What do you think most of them, and including St Johnstone Livingston, are hoping for in this? Is it Hearts, Aberdeen or Celtic?
they don't want Celtic.
Avoid Celtic.
Yeah, you've got a chance.
Aye.
Yeah. Okay. Who do you think the final's going to be?
Well, it depends what the draw is, obviously, but
What would you like to see as the ultimate?
for the final,
Yeah.
I think a Celtic Rangers final is always a showcase event. I think it's always a draw
But now,
for sponsors. And
No,
now
now
with
this
no
year.
Rangers.
This year.
I'm for the last four. So what we've got Celtic, Aberdeen,
Hearts.
Livingston, or St Johnstone. I think Livingston might win tonight. I quite
Yeah.
fancy Livingston.
Do you fancy them for the final?
I don't
What
know
would
if
be the
they'll
ultimate
go
final
all
for
to
you?
I think Celtic Hearts would be a decent
Yeah.
final.
You happy with that?
Celtic Hearts, I think. Celtic batter them.
Yeah.
3 or 4 nothing.
I don't know.
I think.
No, I think Hearts.
He's
would.
just doing that to see if he can annoy everybody. I think Celtic Aberdeen would be a right good.
I think either of the two of them would be good. But we've got a lot of Aberdeen people watching the show, so I'll go Aberdeen.
Celtic Aberdeen final.
Yeah. Okay.
Dons. Dons in the
Listen,
final.
this week we've got a situation where Barry Ferguson has got a real chance to get Rangers past Fenerbahce. And I think most of us will have to hold our hands up and say we did not see that coming. For me, Ruffy, that's one of the best European performances this season by a Scottish club. I think the one that also sticks in my mind is Celtic's performance in Munich, which I thought was absolutely sensational. And to lose that goal at the end for a draw was gut-wrenching, to say the very least. But I thought some of the football Celtic played was magnificent. And then last week, you're sitting down to a game and you're looking at Rangers and you're thinking, where did that come from? They were great as well.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can disagree with that. They are the two highlights of European football this year. Obviously, Rangers have got to come through at the second leg. I have spoken to a few Rangers boys I know, and believe it or not, they're still a wee bit worried about the tie.
I think 3-1's an odd scoreline.
But if you were away from home and scored 3 goals, you'd be
The away goals rule.
You'd be dying for the home game.
But that's not.
No, I know. It would be great if they were.
If you're 3-1 away, you're laughing. You need to get, you know.
But I think it's just because Rangers obviously performance against Queen's Park and Motherwell and St Mirren, they're a wee bit anxious. But if Rangers score the first goal, that'll be a joyous night for.
I think the scoreline plays into Rangers' hands because Fenerbahçe need to come out. They need to come out and try and find a goal, and I think that'll suit Rangers. They'll do loads of space to exploit in that first game, and they'll know one game kills the tie, one goal kills the tie completely. Yeah,
do you fancy them? I understand the probabilities and what potentially could happen.
Rangers will choose that.
Yeah.
Unless they get a man sent off, Rangers keep 11 men in the park, they'll go through. 100%.
Yeah, I think what Ali mentioned there is the key to all of this is the style that Mourinho is going to have to adopt. The other thing about this, Ruffy, and again I mentioned on several occasions, if Barry, this is a big week for Barry Ferguson. I know you and I are sometimes accused of being slightly biased towards him as a person. He worked here for 3 years. He was, a really great lad. I don't mind people actually giving me pelters for that, by the way, because he is a nice guy. So for him to get past Fenerbahce, and then they've obviously got Celtic at the weekend, get past Fenerbahce, not many people fancied them. They weren't favourites.
No, not at all. And everybody's obviously had their own idea of him going in there. We all know that he is Rangers through and through. But a lot of people were thrown up by what's he done as a manager. He's been managing Celtic and Alloa and blah, blah, blah. Should he be the manager of Rangers? I don't know if he's reached the heights of being the manager, but he certainly should be involved at Rangers moving on in the future.
Yeah, there's a guy on here, I do like him. I wish he would change his moniker on YouTube. He's called Smell the Glove, which he says, great lad Claxon, here it comes. There he is, he's mentioned it. I like that. I like it. You don't mind a bit of the noise up. It's absolutely fantastic unless I meet you at dinner, then you're in trouble. But a great line from him. And also, Graham Williamson's having none of it. Fenerbahce are awful. They're ranked rotten. Queen's Park would have beaten them. I'm not quite sure about that. And Hugh Burns is not having Barry Christian names only, like Walter. Well, we do say Brendan as well. I don't think we say Neil Critchley,
Fergie,
David Crazy. We don't do any of that stuff. But nevertheless, I think they're going to win.
Yeah. You would think if you can score 3 goals against a team away from home, you'd be able to get 1 or 2 at home, which I think would be enough.
Yeah. Does it hamper them for the game against Celtic at the weekend?
I think it depends how it goes. I think if they come out and they've won it, then I think it gives you a bit of momentum, a bit of belief. I think you're right. I don't think any of us. Well, I know I didn't give them a chance. I thought Fenerbahce would win that quite comfortably in the first leg. I think the fact that you've gone and not just compounded the expectations, but taken quite a significant scalp with Dogger well, then going to Celtic Park a couple of days later. The converse, of course, is true. I think and I don't envisage it happening at all, but I think if Fenerbahce were to somehow turn it around, then I think that's when all of a sudden you have heavy legs and you have a bit of a hangover from it. But I think Rangers will come out on top. I think they'll progress, and I think then you go into Celtic Park with the wind at your back.
Andy says Fenerbahce finished in 24th place. Why does everyone think that they're great shakes? Rangers will spank them. I'm not sure they'll spank them, Andy, but I think Barry's got them in a good place with this one. Put it this way, if they don't win, in this game, then how the hell do you lift them?
The season's over, isn't it, really?
Celtic Park. It's
Season's
just
over.
I fancy them to win. You fancy them to
Yeah,
win?
I think Rangers will go through.
Yeah, I fancy them.
Yeah, I think Rangers
Yep.
win.
Okay. Just before we move on to some of the English football, just to finish, I'm going to mention something. Ruffy, last night I was invited very kindly by Martin Robertson, who is a producer and director of documentaries, BAFTA winning as well, to the GFT, which, as you know, is a great cinema, and they do a lot of publicity for Scottish films and also for independence, so they're to be celebrated. This was Make It to Munich. It was a kind of a documentary covering a young boy called Ethan Walker. He was 17 years of age and he was hit by a car. His mum was told he was basically going to die. I mean, if you had seen the photographs and the video of him in the hospital, you thought he's got no chance. I mean, everything was battered, smashed, you name it. Blood on his brain, and a long, long road back. But thankfully, one of the top surgeons in the UK is in Scotland. And with the help of the surgeon and a couple of friends, they decided that the road back would be cycling to Munich for the opening game. And he had the great honour of having the pennant, which Andy Robertson would hand over to Ilkay Gundogan. And it was just a fabulous, uplifting documentary. Well done to Martin and everybody who was involved in not only the making of it, but the four guys who travelled about 1,300 kilometres, Ruffy, from Scotland to Munich. Incredible.
Yeah, I think we all followed it during the road, and we saw clips of them doing specific stages and everything, and the crowds were all getting behind them. The thing I remember most when they actually got there, and it was everybody was waiting and them coming in, and you could see the joy in everybody else's face, as well as him, you know, having what an achievement to do that, you know, and get there. So a happy time. So it must have been a fantastic documentary.
It was actually really inspiring. I'm never going to moan about any aches or pains I've got, because Ethan was an absolute inspiration. It was really emotional. The only problem about the whole documentary that made me feel uneasy and really emotional and sad was when the surgeon who was with him had to say to him, you can't play football again. That was his driving force, his goal. And he said, you can coach, but you can't play football again. That must have been gut-wrenching. It was...
Yeah, I suppose if you've been in a situation like that, though, you're taking, you know, you've just got to draw the positives from where he was. I think given how precarious his life was at some point in the aftermath of that accident, I think his family and you know, if they'd said to him, here's the sacrifice that you pay for coming back and being able to get back on a bike and go and live your life, it's a small sacrifice. I understand completely that it's probably really hard to hear and really sore, but I think when you look at the recovery that boy made, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done to him. Well done to Professor Gordon Mackay. I was trying to think constantly about his name there, but Gordon Mackay actually tried to make it as a footballer. Didn't quite work out for him, thank God.
That guy was Ross Hall.
I listened to I couldn't rule it out, by the way, but he's a...
The guy who's operated me was Dr. Mackay.
Is that right?
Same guy.
And that's what they gave you, is the hairstyle? Wow, I can't believe it.
No, it was I broke my ankle.
Oh, was it? Oh, thank God for that. I thought it was...
Pins and a plate in it, so if it was him, you've done a good job, Gordon.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all gone.
And again, the ankle doesn't freeze up when he's on the bench. It stays mobile.
It's good stiffen up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen when he gets on.
So,
Ruffy.
And by the way, a lot of people say, great cheery end to the show. Paul Brady, Paul, if you get a chance, go and see it. It is uplifting.
What's it called, Pierre, the show?
It's called Make It to Munich. It's a documentary. It's coming out in cinemas right across the country. And it's inspirational. And even one of the most talented songwriters in Scotland, believe me, and in the UK, as far as pop music is concerned, B.A. Robertson rewrote We Have a Dream to incorporate it. It was just brilliant. I mean, it's one of the best Scotland songs ever. And a great night for you, Ruffy. You were pished on top of the pops and ended up nicking one of the birds from Tight Fit.
Pass.
Is that fair, Ruffy? Have I encapsulated everything there? Yeah, exactly, Ali.
Aye, was it lasting for that?
There you go, Ruffy. Oh, look, he's getting emotional.
Yeah, you
He's
just
swelling
say,
up.
I have a gold disc.
I'm sure you do.
Like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the song.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Okay, let's crack on. By the way, I mean, Roy Keane mentioned it, Ali. Arteta is under pressure. I think he's failed.
Oh, I think so too. I think you don't deliver. I mean, the title's gone. It's absolutely gone. It's been gone for weeks, but yeah, I think so too. I think, how much more time do you give it?
Hasn't won the league. How long do you go? They haven't won the league since 2004. It's a long time, and the team don't look like it. This is what another man who's amazingly under pressure, not to get the sack, but under pressure to try and get a half-decent team on the park. Amorim, the Man United manager, and Arteta after that 1-1 draw.
We believe more during the games because we feel comfortable, we feel I can do this, we are okay, and then we are growing in confidence during the game. Not so much in the beginning. In the beginning we try to understand, but then during the game, I felt that also in Spain. During the game, I think we increased the confidence and the quality of our game.
We opened the door for them to maybe win the game because we gave some very unusual balls away and very basic things done really poorly. And even though we had 3 big chances, the reality is that Dundee saved us, and at the end, in the last chance, we could have lost the game.
Yep, blown it, and Liverpool will win the league now.
Oh, cruised it, Peter. I think it's been done for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Arsenal, came close a couple of seasons ago, and I don't think they've quite got it in that winning mentality. So still in the Champions League, obviously, great result last week. Still could win that, but by that, could be another trophyless season for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll leave you with the thoughts of Smell the Glove, who started all this madness off. And he said, Ruffy linked to Legs and Co as well on top of the pop. So there you are, the rumours are flying of stories. Ruffy, why don't you do a second book, the autobiography, The Truth, instead of that?
Just about the 2 appearances on top of it.
No.
Your night out in London after
I'm sure that somebody would buy that book, but Ruffy, the second book would be blistering. Your first book was just all fluffy and everybody's lovely in the world. The second book, The Real Truth, would be it'd be red hot. It'd be big. I'll tell you this now, if you did it, it would be bigger than 50 Shades of Grey. I like your line. I like your line. There's nothing to lose. Time's running out. Nobody can be angry with you.
Off your chest, Ruffy.
Will you pay my court fees?
We will indeed. Listen, great to chat to Ruffy. Great to have Alison and Tam on the show. Hopefully you enjoy it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. And thank you to so many people who thoroughly enjoy the podcast as well. Thank you today for listening and watching.